Hi, I'm Mara Webster with In Creative Company, and today I'm thrilled to be talking about the movie My Divorce Party. I am joined today by writer, director, and executive producer Heidi Weitzer, along with actor and executive producer Desiree Staples and cast member Rumer Willis. And Heidi, in starting with you, I was interested in kind of like the development process with the script, and in particular how you shaped all the characters in this friendship group, because I love that you've clearly not just thought about who they are individually, but you've clearly also thought very specifically about what's the chemistry and dynamic of the group as a whole, along with like what's the individual histories of friendships within that as well. And so I was just interested in that journey.
Yeah. So I did a lot of workshopping, and at one point there was six girls, at one point there was four girls, and then it ended up being five seemed to be like the right number for everyone. And then from there it was just a lot of rewriting, and then when everyone was cast, I rewrote it again to kind of fit every actress's voice a little bit better and just some people are really good with like setup punchline, and some people it's all in their delivery, and so they're kind of tinkering with that to make sure that everyone could kind of shine. So it was definitely a process. It was like a lot of tinkering around until it felt just right.
That's so great. And Desiree, coming over to you, in playing Xan and kind of finding her as a character, I was just interested in that journey and that arc of, it feels like at the beginning of the film, she's kind of trying to force herself into a version of herself that she wants to become. It's getting out of the car feeling a little bit disheveled, but plastering on a smile for everybody around her, and then really trying to find the way towards that version. And so I was just interested in how you set about developing and creating that arc for her.
Yeah, I mean, I had such a treat with Heidi's script and working off the girls and this ensemble, but I did want to bring, and what's great is when you're coming in an Uber to the desert, unwell, you set up this divorce party, you're having a blast. I mean, we really set it up that this girl's not having a great time. So, but I love that. I think we try to, a theme of this movie is what we hide from our friends, what we hide from the people we love. We don't want people to know that we're struggling. And so it was really just such a treat to get to go from where she begins, which is this hot mess of like, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, to the girlfriends being the girls that really call her out, to being like, no, you're not. All the hijinks adventures they get into, and then the other side becoming a better version of myself, herself. So I really wanted to lean in as dark and messy and wild as we could go, so that we had somewhere to go at the end.
And Rumor, for you with your character, it kind of feels like in showing up in this weekend, she's showing up in a way that she's had people do so for her in her past, with some of the details that we get from her backstory. And so, how did you look at her kind of journey with sobriety and the way that she'd probably had people help her get there as to who she wants to be for her friend? Because it's very much she's the friend that Xan needs, not the friend that she wants her to be.
Yeah. Um, it's interesting. I feel like when I read it on the page originally, like I mean, not Xan, sorry, Ren is very, she's kind of the straight man of the group on the page. And so I was trying to find a way to, as a sober person myself, I feel like there's an image that's like the kind of party killer, especially when like there's a lot of the energy of the girls that are like, let's fucking rage, like let's go. So I and I think sometimes, I didn't want that to be her whole personality, because obviously maybe there was how at least I broached it was that, that yes, there was probably times that she got quite messy and needed to be taken care of and maybe even hurt this friend group at different times, with, whatever it was that she was struggling with. But I didn't want that to be the only thing that defined her in this friend group, because I don't I didn't hold it in this way of, oh, she's just been a mess their entire friendship, because some of these friendships they've had for, 15, 20 years. Some of them have been since college. So I think what I what I wanted to bring to it is, the person that's kind of she's finding her new way in this new position with this friend group as being the one who's actually trying to keep everybody on time and, in sobriety, trying to manage and go, all right, who am I now in this group?
Mhm.
What is my role now? How do I fit in while also not being the drill sergeant and party killer that also that she can enjoy and have fun and be silly. And what I love is that being able to work with Heidi, we really found, I feel like this interesting, fun place where there was moments of depth and that recognition and understanding in this friend group, while also still having the ability to have fun and be light and have really multi-dimensional characters, which I think was really fun to play and also be able to be in with the girls.
Yeah. And also some off the back of some of what you were saying at the beginning about kind of like the straight man of the group and that being the comedic sensibility as well. For all of you, I wanted to talk about just finding the comedic sensibility of the film because in a very realistic way with any group of friends, you all have different senses of humor and styles of comedy and it kind of all melds together. And that feels very true in this friendship group in the movie as well. So how did you all set about finding what the different comedic sensibilities were going to be and how those were all going to culminate?
I mean, the first day on set, I mean, we did a reading, but the first day on set, you know, Michelle, who plays Wendy, came in so hot with like she knew her character so well, and it was just she just went and turned it on, and it set the bar at this level that made you want to rise to it. And you're like, man, all right, how do I get in the sandbox and play with these girls? Like, how do I jump in? And then, you know, like Michelle's this got like this kind of flavor and color over here, and Desiree's got this, and then Kimia has this other color, and mine's this other color, and Sarah's is this. And so watching the kind of like Jackson Pollock, but also like watercolor that would create sometimes, seeing how the different comedies were mixing was so fun. And it was weird because you're in the scene and you're doing it, but then you're also like, oh my God, this person is hilarious. And I'm watching them do something funny just as me watching them do something funny. And I don't know. I feel like it just created this playground where you're like, ooh, what's gonna happen next? How are they gonna do it? Like, how's Kimmy gonna do this? How are they gonna do this? And I feel like it makes this kind of like crackly fire of excitement as you're doing the scene that makes you want to play and really like, get in there so you can keep the ball going.
Yeah, I think it was so fun every day. We were just trying to make each other laugh very successfully. It was so funny at times that I was like, okay, we can't laugh in this scene or try not to. And we'd rehearse as well. And like Heidi, once again, was just such a joy to let us play. And like the Ira Glass joke specifically with the IRA, it was something we like workshopped behind the scenes by ourselves at the hotel and then presented it to our incredible fearless leader. And so if we did well, if the students did well, we would get our joke in. So we just had a blast, just like surprising each other and just trying to make each other laugh was really the goal. So that came across on screen, I think.
And
Was that the
that's
same for you
there
as well, Heidi?
too. Even just little things like I noticed Rumer and Michelle really gravitated towards each other, and just with the blocking and making sure their characters were sitting next to each other, giving more opportunities to have these little asides. I would watch them and then watch the dailies and then maybe do little rewrites to just give everyone more opportunities to play off of each other based on what I was seeing. So it was a little bit of like art imitating life, imitating art for a while.
Well, that's what was so cool was like, I remember us shooting that first day of scenes. And then, yeah, there was like this natural kind of funny thing that that happened with a couple lines with Michelle and I. And then all of a sudden, I was like, oh, maybe they have a history. Maybe this is what they do on every trip. Maybe they're kind of always in cahoots and hooligans together and always trying to be like up to a little mischief. And then it kind of just like things just kind of happened, but then we kind of went with them naturally. And and then Heidi would like help cultivate that. And so it was really fun because like it wasn't forced. Like it really just kind of happened that way. And then, it started with something that just happened by chance. But then, by the end, we're talking about, I think we have that joke about the what do we call them? The
But
the sausage, the
wait,
sausage
what is it?
dogs, about the corgis.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
sausages.
they're just long hamsters.
Yeah.
You know, so then we would like lean into it and it was
Yeah.
great.
And Desiree, in talking about your character a little bit more, there's so many times where she makes this reference point to, I just want to get back to who I was before. I just want to be that version of myself. And
Yeah.
there's such a realization of, I can't fully be the person I was in the past. There's like a new version of me in the future. And we obviously don't end the film with her completely refurbished because that's not true to anyone in life. And so how did you set about figuring out what are the details and parts of her past that you feel like really would carry forward? And then what are those spaces that are kind of new elements of who she's going to be in this kind of like recovery from this relationship breakdown?
Ooh, what a great question. Well, Heidi will have to have her write the sequel at Isabella's Bachelorette. But I think that an amazing theme of this movie, why I was drawn to it too, is like we don't like to accept change. We don't like to get out of our comfort zones. I love that line that Xan says, "Why can't they just support me and everything I do and not push me to not do what I don't want to do?" And yeah, so I think that was huge for me. It was just like, if I can get this mindset, if I could just get back to who I was before, then everything will be fine. And so growing from that, I think it's just accepting the unexpected. And I love that thing too, that life doesn't have to be perfect. And again, just getting to see a character like this on screen where it's a woman that gets to be messy and unpredictable and flawed. But I think the next stage for Xan is this realization that she's in charge of her own life and she has her own agency. And now that she has her girlfriends and she has this, I mean, as much as I think phones are a blessing and a curse, like just right here, you've got all these girls that can make you laugh, and this text thread that we do have on real life too, that just like are there if we need anything. I think that was huge for her.
Yeah. And then lastly for you, Heidi, and talking about directing, it kind of seems like there's some places where you wanted to allow yourself to be like a little bit more free and playful with the directing style, in line with where this friendship group and these characters are at. You using like a different lens during the mushroom scene where Xan's high and kind of like bringing us into that perspective. And so how did you set about finding where you wanted to have more of a traditional structure to the directing and where you wanted to allow for that openness and playfulness?
Oh, that was fun. That was a lot of pre-planning with my cinematographer Hannah Getz, and I because we were in this beautiful landscape, I really wanted to shoot on these anthropomorphic lenses, and a lot of it was kind of showcasing the beauty and then kind of juxtaposing that with the silliness, and so we had a lot of talks about wanting each of the four women's scenes on what they do with the money to look drastically different, and then Xan's is kind of this fifth scene with the drug trip. And so I was like, well, what could we do? I don't want it to look too comical or over the top. And so she was the one that suggested that there's a lens that we could put on it that makes these beautiful, like wavy, and it gives a feeling of like uncomfortableness, unsettledness. And so credit to her, she had that great idea for the drug scene.
Well, I really appreciate the three of you talking about the film. Congratulations on the movie, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much.